All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, November 5th, and we have an 11-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, make sure to keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays, so that I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. Now, in terms of how we did yesterday, yeah, another rough one. We are not on the best stretch here. Obviously, I'm here to own it. We are putting in the work, so I feel good about where we're seeing things, how we're seeing things, but hey, a ball is not bouncing our way right now, and you know what? You can't really avoid that. We got to own that. A 2-4 night last night, and honestly, that last play was just a throw-in. Once we saw the injury news for the Clippers, we ran to the window to get that SGP in and got some decent odds, but it was still a crazily juiced play, right? The only things we hit yesterday were 2 of the 3 same-game parlays we threw in. Desmond Bane gets ejected. Way to go, buddy. We had your over. The Magic first half, they did not look all that great. Trey Jones over 16.5 points plus assists. Another one where it's like, what are we seeing, right? So let's try and lock in for today's Wednesday slate. We got a lot of options out there, an 11-game slate. Let's do just that. Speaking of being locked in, let's pump in some damn crowd noise for the rides of the day. Yes, we're doing it a little bit different now. Multiple ride of the day plays going at once. Let's start with IAW, his second straight cash. We have it tracked here on the ride of the day tracker. You can see that 2 plays in a row cashing. And we jumped on board with Brandon picks yesterday. Right here, Jakob Poeltl under 1.5 steals plus blocks. He finished with 0. Guys, this is going to be monumental. Both of these guys, obviously, we're riding with again. We'll explain the rules of the ride of the day in just a second. But I'm looking to bring on a third ride of the day. We'll probably never do more than 3 at once, but screw it. Let's run it, right? I'm loving the multiple ride of the days plays out here. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. Now it's up to a little bit, right? We're going to be looking at 3 people's plays today, each and every day. If you do get your play correct, we go ahead and shout you out in the next video, and we continue to ride through plays. If you do get your pick incorrect, you still get that shout out, but unfortunately, you got to face the womp womp from the soundboard, and we're talking about a loss, which no one really likes to do, right? So let's get some bangers down in the comments. Looking forward to seeing who we bring on today, and yes, 3 ride of the day plays at once. We're crazy over here. We're losing our minds. But guys, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. You guys have been absolutely crushing the support to start the NBA season. Yeah, it's been kind of an up and down season, but I guess what else can we expect from an early season, right? A lot of the numbers we're looking at are either short and small sample sizes of this year and or looking at last year's. Obviously, teams change. Let's try and hone in here, all right? Let's go ahead and dive into game number 1 here. Out of the 11 on the board, this is definitely not, I wouldn't say towards the top of my love list today in terms of the games, but we have the Pacers taking on the Nets. Right now, Pacers 7.5 point favorites. Total sitting at 233.5. Both of these teams, as of right now, stink out loud, okay? We have the Nets, who are 0-7, and the Pacers, who are 1-6. This Pacers squad is still heavily banged up. Your eyes get tired reading their injury report. The Nets, on the other side of things, Drake Powell, still out, and then Haywood Highsmith still out as well. Starting lineup's going to be Tyrese Martin, Cam Thomas, Terrence Mann, Michael Porter Jr., and Nick Claxton. On the Pacers side of things, going to be Ben Shepherd, Aaron Nesmith, Jarace Walker, Pascal Siakam, and Isaiah Jackson. I'm going to just slightly lean towards the Nets. I think this is a big number. Neither one of these squads play the best of defenses, but neither one of their offenses are all that great either. This seems like a 50-50 type game just from a money line perspective to me. So I'll take those 7.5 points. I don't think this will be a final play. It'd be kind of crazy. We're on a little bit of a cold streak here, and we're just like, hey, what pulls us out of it is taking the Nets. Yeah, right. So I'm going to lean towards the Nets plus 7.5 points. That total at 233. It, again, is a tough one because what did I just say? Like, obviously, you have 2 defenses that aren't all that great, but where are they going to be scoring from? I mean, Brooklyn is allowing 43% above the break to their opponents, and this is an Indiana team that shoots it at the 8th highest clip, but they're only shooting 31% from above the break. I think that there's more sloppy basketball here than there is good. I'm going to lean under 233.5, and definitely no player props in this one for me. Next up, we have Detroit taking on Utah here. This Detroit team's going to want to force the ball into the paint, and I think that could work out for them, especially with the injury side of things, take into account for Utah. Walker Kessler out. Georges Niang, if you want to give him some credit, out as well. But I think Walker Kessler, and not that it's really breaking news to anyone watching, but I think that that is a very underrated injury. Like, that is a big piece to their offense and defense down low. And when you're going up against a team like Detroit, who loves to live and breathe down low, right? I think that that's a big deal. So I'm going to lean towards the Pistons. 10.5 points is a lot, but I really don't mind it here. I mean, maybe it's better off as some sort of an alternate line parlay piece or Utah team total under, something like that. But yeah, Utah's coming off of a win against Boston in which they were 10.5 point dogs. I don't think they do that 2 games in a row on the road. If they did, it'd be a pretty damn big feat. You know what I mean? They win outright or even just cover 2 of these big spreads in a row on the road. I don't necessarily see it happening. Again, talking about how Detroit likes to play, they will try to force the ball into the paint. 8th in terms of restricted area frequency, 2nd in terms of in the paint frequency. Utah, from the restricted area, 71% of their opponent's field goal percentage. That's not all that great, right? And then you look at them from in the paint, so outside of the restricted area, 53% of their opponents. I like the spot here for Detroit to score some. So maybe a look at like Jalen Duren or something as well. I think that he can get Yusuf Nurkic in foul trouble. And then from that point, where are they going from a true bigs perspective, right? So I don't mind the idea of him and Cade Cunningham. Even Asar Thompson could. Anyone that likes to shoot in the paint, I think could have a decent game today. So I think Asar Thompson could be a really good look now that I say that. Keep an eye on the final plays there. In terms of a total, I slightly lean towards the under here. I think Detroit, if they win this one, they do slow things down and try to score in the paint. And if they're winning while scoring 2s, most likely we're looking at an under. Jumping in here, adding this after the fact, Tobias Harris out for the Pistons. I do think that is definitely worth noting there. So I probably end up liking that Asar Thompson play even more. Maybe he gets some of those shots as well. But yeah, we should see Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart, in the lineup there as a starter. But just wanted to let you know that, yes, we missed it, at least we were talking about it earlier. But Tobias Harris not in this game. All right, Cleveland taking on Philadelphia. So Philadelphia's on a back-to-back here. They're coming off of a loss against Chicago yesterday, 113 to 111. We're going to want to keep an eye, I would say, obviously, on their injury report here. Joel Embiid did play 25 minutes yesterday. He went for 20.6 rebounds. We'll see if he gets the run. You obviously have Jared McCain coming off of injury as well. So a back-to-back may not be the best situation for a couple of these guys and a couple decently important pieces to their offense, right? I will say, with the backcourt of Edgecombe and Maxey, the Sixers team is kind of, when McCain's going to be healthy as well, the Sixers team is kind of transitioned into a little bit more of a younger team where back-to-backs may not be like the kiss of death or everyone sits out, that type of thing, but still worth noting. On the other side of things, from an injury report perspective, looks like Jared Allen and Darius Garland are questionable. Yes, Darius Garland, questionable here. That's most likely the reason, a healthy Cleveland team, if they are healthy, alongside playing against a Philly team on the back-to-back. That's probably why this number is really, really big. But I have been impressed with how the Sixers have played so far this season. Now, are they sitting there as a team that has played, really, really hard schedule? No, I believe that they are third easiest schedule or something like that they've played thus far. This Cleveland team, I do believe, is really good. I don't know if they're 10.5 points good, better than the Sixers, but I'm going to lean in their direction. Maybe this is similar to what we talked about with Detroit, right? Like, yeah, that's a big number, but what if we can go -4.5 for both these squads, throw them in a parlay or something like that together where we don't have to worry about an 11-point win, but we do have a commanding team on one side. So that's probably the direction I'd go in. But again, the Sixers team is definitely pesky. And the fact that we're getting over double digits in their back pocket with a guy like Maxey, who seems like he can either keep a game close or win a game by himself, it's a pretty big deal. That total sitting at 233. You have the fifth fastest paced team in Cleveland going up against the 13th fastest paced team in Philadelphia. But Cleveland, just over 50%, which is decent transition defense to their opponents. If Philly tries to run, I think Cleveland can stop them. I'm going to lean towards an under here in this spot. 233 seems a little bit too high. If we wanted to trim the fat, I'd say Philadelphia team total under. But I do think that Philly's defense, a back-to-back may be a little different here, but I do think that their defense is fairly underrated as well. From a player prop perspective, it is a tough one. I like the idea of someone like Evan Mobley, but especially with like a Jabari Walker, matchup on him. I just don't know if I like his line being as high as it is, especially with someone like Darius Garland coming back. One positive there, though, we can be honest and say, well, okay, well, if Evan Mobley runs the pick and roll, Darius Garland can feed him. Might be a decent enough spot, right? But him to go out there and get 20 points, it stinks when at the beginning of the year we were taking Evan Mobley over 14.5, over 15.5, over 16.5, and now he needs to score 20 points to have a good game, and that just seems a little high to me. You know what I mean? This season alone, he's had 3 out of his 7 games go for 20 plus, right? Everything else has been right in that 15, 19, 14 range. But that is where I would look player prop wise. Now, guys, before we do move on with the rest of the games, I want to talk to you about Chalkboard. If you've not tried Chalkboard yet, you are missing out on what I would consider one of, if not the best player prop DFS app out there. They have a Steph Curry square. Now, Steph Curry is ruled out for this one, so I hear through the grapevine they will have another free pick for users. So yes, for all intents and purposes, we have a Steph Curry free square, but he ain't playing, all right? So we're probably going to get a different player, whether it's in this game or just a different superstar out there, 0.5 PRA. The point is, Chalkboard is great. Check it out, guys. That link will be down in the description as well as the pinned comment. You also get your first deposit 100% matched. And I know I had mentioned that Chalkboard is a player prop app, DFS app. What's really cool about them, they now have game picks available. Moneyline, spreads, totals, all that stuff now in the app. Go ahead and check it out, guys. I've been really enjoying this app. You've seen me on Instagram. By the way, follow me, evpicks, right there. You've been seeing me post Chalkboard slips and everything like that. I've been having a blast with this app. That link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Again, you'll get a free pick when signing up there. It's not going to be Steph because he's out, but you will get a free pick. Let's go ahead and jump back into these games. Celtics taking on the Wizards. Yeah, we do have a bunch of big spreads today. Celtics 11.5 point favorites here. Total sitting at 231.5. Now, obviously, this Wizards team is not all that great. I'm not breaking any news to anyone there. I believe they're, 1-6 on the season. Celtics at 3-5. Like, the Celtics team, without Tatum, definitely not too tremendous. Coming off of 2 straight losses, they got blown up by Houston, right? But then they lost a pretty BS type game, and I say that as a Celtics fan, admittedly, but there's a huge missed foul on Jaylen Brown with seconds left in the game that obviously would have been a big deal. I think the Celtics bounce back with a win in this spot. Do I like the idea of them winning by 12? Not so much, but I do think that they obviously are the better team in this spot. I'm going to lean Celtics minus the 11.5. That total at 231.5. Celtics are still playing at a very slow pace. If they play decent enough defense, which they're a top 10 defensive efficiency team as of right now, do I think that's always going to stand or anything like that? Not so much. But Washington, a 29th ranked offensive efficiency team, I think that this could be a spot in which we see an under. And again, like we always do and like to try to do, if we do want to trim some fat here, maybe a Washington team total under. Right now, you can look at under 113.5, which they've had if they've hit in 4 of their last 5 for minus 154. Pretty damn juice, but it might be the more cozy, safe play, you know what I mean? But I do like the Celtics as well as the under. From a player prop perspective, I don't have his numbers out right now, but Josh Mino, I think, could have a good game here. I mean, from just his, projections and stuff like that, I would probably peg him. Depends on what his line comes out at here, but I'd probably peg him right around like 8 to 10 points. And this could be, again, it's an 11.5 point spread against a Washington team. Could be a game in which he sees some extended minutes with potentially some sort of a blowout. If he plays like 25 minutes or so, he could get easily into the double digits. He's a guy that likes to score in the paint. He also hits corner threes, leads the team in the last, I guess this season, I was going to say last time, but this season in corner 3 attempts, it's only at 2 per game. Then we're above the break team. But Washington pretty soft against the corner 3. So depending on what his points line comes out at, it's definitely something that I'm considering here today. I know it's kind of weird to roll with him. He's like probably the 8th name on the list that you're thinking of. But let's not forget, this could be a blowout, and he's definitely the type of guy that they would give. He's earned it, but they'd also give some extra run in that type of a case. And if he plays with all the B team guys, he's been getting a lot of good minutes lately, right? If he plays with those B team guys, he'll probably kind of control the offense and everything. It's funny, he was kind of like the Peyton Pritchard of a year ago. Like, Peyton Pritchard established himself, so he's a little bit better than where Mino is right now, but established himself, but still would play in some of those blowout spots. Maybe Josh Mino is that new sort of role here, because he's been getting a lot of good run with his starters and starting himself. I can already picture people being like, it's Minot, not Mino. Come on, lay your hair down. Which one sounds cooler, right? Josh Mino or Josh Minot? I know which one I like. Yes, as a Celtics fan, I probably should pronounce his name correctly, though. Knicks taking on the Timberwolves is our next game here. Big injury thing to keep our eye on would be Anthony Edwards. He's listed as questionable here, expected to come back. Mitchell Robinson also listed as questionable for the Knicks. I don't necessarily mind the idea of the Knicks here in this spot. I think that's a low enough number, if you're asking me, which by watching this, I guess to some degree you are. I don't think Anthony Edwards comes back from a hamstring and is just like fully good to go, right? I would imagine that he's somewhat either hobbled or on a minutes restriction, even if he is good to go, because it's still really early in the year. Are they really going to blow their load with him hurting his hamstring even further or something else related this early in the year? I can't see that happening. So I'm going to lean Knicks in this spot. I think that's a very, very efficient line at 4.5. I would peg this game right around 118 to 113 or 117 to 113. So yeah, by, I guess, my estimations there, I also don't mind the idea of an over. Regardless of Anthony Edwards playing or not, I'm not loving the defense from the Knicks on the perimeter, so I think Minnesota could hit some threes, which would be nice for them, right? You have Dante DiVincenzo out there. If Anthony Edwards plays, he'll jack threes because I doubt he's going to have that explosive burst towards the hoop as confidently as normal. But then on the other side of things, being able to score in the paint, not at the restricted area. Minnesota's actually pretty good at stopping opponents from scoring in the restricted area, but kind of right in the paint and also in the mid-range area, which is obviously a spot in which this Knicks team shoots from plenty, or at least can shoot from plenty with their personnel. I think they'll have some easy time scoring as well. So I'm going to lean slightly towards that over 228.5. From a player prop perspective, I looked at a few different spots. I don't think we get there with any of these, but I don't mind Brunson's under in threes. I think Minnesota will be pretty much keeping an eye on him all game long from the three perspective. If he wants to drive, then sure, but I don't think they're going to want to be beat by threes, right? And I also like the idea of something like Mikal Bridges, but I feel like he's either hot or cold right now, which is nothing too consistent from him. But I mentioned that mid-range and sort of that extended in the paint area. I really like him in that spot right now. Now, over 14.5, I believe, is his line right now. Last time he played this Minnesota team, he had 15 on the dot. The time before that, he had 29 against them. But this season, 4 of 7, averaging 16.4 points per game. But that's thanks to a couple games ago, he had a 3-game stretch of 20-plus points. His last 2 games, 10 and 10 points. Now, I guess you could say it's all going to come down to minutes. He played 29 minutes last game. The time before that, though, 34 minutes, and he shot, I believe it was like he only shot 3 of 7 or something like that. He's not getting the field goal looks. So not to spend too much time on him, but there are, I do like it, but there are some like factors out there that are like, is this the best spot? Perhaps not. Memphis taking on Houston here. Memphis getting 7.5 points at home. That total sitting at 232.5. Houston 4-2 on the season, coming off of 4 straight wins. They lose to Oklahoma City night 1, they lose to Detroit night number 2, and then boom, Brooklyn, Toronto, Boston, Dallas, they get those wins. Now Memphis 3-5. They've lost now 3 straight games. Detroit, Toronto, LA. This number is, so right now, I guess we should say, I have this game pegged at Rockets 117, Grizzlies 110. So first and foremost, I don't mind the idea of an under. I think Houston will slow things down, but I have this as a 7-point win for the Rockets on my model here, and the line's 7.5. So that would, in theory, say that, oh, give the Grizzlies that half-point advantage or something like that. I don't necessarily see it like that. This Grizzlies team, both offensively and defensively, has been one of the least efficient teams so far to start the year. I think Houston should be able to score kind of wherever they want to, whether it's from above the break, which they're not shooting a ton of, whether it's in the mid-range, which they're actually a top 10 frequency team. I like the idea of Houston potentially pulling away in this spot. So I'm going to lean towards Houston here minus the 7.5 points, even though it's a razor-thin margin as to where our numbers are. And that total sitting at 232.5. Like I said, I have this like well below, 5-6 points below. So I'm going to lean towards the under in this spot. But like a broken record, to trim some fat, I do think the team that's going to play the better defense today would be the Rockets. So maybe there's a pivot in there that we can look at, like Memphis team total under 116.5, right? You're paying a lot of juice for that, but in their, 8 games so far this year, they've stayed below that. They've averaged 115.5. I will say at home, they've hit the under in 3 of the 5 games at home, but they're averaging 117, so a little over this mark. Last time they played this Rockets team, they did go for 120. So there are some factors there that's like, not looking all that great. But they're going up against a really, really good Rockets defense. And in terms of the Rockets, what they've been allowing to their opponents, 102 to Dallas, 101 to Boston. Toronto played with some pace, got 121 off of them, but Brooklyn stayed under this line. Detroit stayed under this line, and then the double overtime game against OKC. I don't know if I'd necessarily count that, but their defense was looking good in that game. So I do think the Rockets can play some D today. Player prop. I like Kevin Durant here in this spot, whether it's his assists or his points. It is much like the spread. I think it's a very, very close line. Right now, his points line you can get for 24.5 for some juice, or 25.5 at more of a stable line. The assists, 3.5 for plus 130. I think Kevin Durant has, 3 or 4 assists today, but that 4 assists may be worth that 130 risk, right? So I like the idea of him. That might be a spot in which we consider from a player prop perspective. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the final plays, like I mentioned. Another big-ish spread, right? I mean, 7.5 points here. Mavericks laying at home, total at 226.5. I believe coming up we do have a few lower spread games, but yeah, this slate is full of some big numbers. I can see the frustration. I understand the frustration if you guys are frustrated, because I know that I certainly am. Now, Dallas is going to be without Anthony Davis, right? I think he comes back in a little bit, but he's going to be out. So in his place is going to be Daniel Gafford. PJ Washington obviously thrived in that last game. I will say, if you're going to be missing Anthony Davis, I don't think that there's a better team you can go up against than the Pelicans, who just seem to just stink when it comes to any sort of defensive or offensive down low presence, right? This is a team that is allowing plenty of points in the paint, but you know what? Dallas is also allowing a bunch either. So this is going to be like a pillow fight down low with Daniel Gafford and Yves Missy. I think, Zion, I want to make sure that he is, what do we have from Zion from an injury perspective? Yes, officially ruled out for at least a week. So no Zion in this spot. Both teams missing their, I guess, arguably best player. But I think that this is a Dallas squad that has some more talent, obviously, outside of Anthony Davis, that I don't know if the Pelicans necessarily do, right? Are we really going to be trusting Jordan Poole, Trey Murphy to go out there and put up, 20 plus a piece? Not sure, but Cooper Flagg, Max Christie, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, those could be the guys to do so on their side of things. So I'll lean Dallas here. Yes, we've leaned towards a lot of big favorites today, but it's just kind of how we see this going. Now, Daniel Gafford does intrigue me a little bit here, but as does PJ Washington. So those are two player props that I definitely don't mind the idea of. Daniel Gafford should obviously get his minutes, and he should be, I guess, from a starting lineup perspective, the bigger, stronger guy out there, him compared to Yves Missy. Even though Missy, I think, is, 6'11", but Gafford still plays a little bit more physical than him, right? Probably has a few pounds on him as well, and only being an inch shorter. But I don't mind him from a points perspective. His line as of right now, what is his updated line? Daniel Gafford, his points line, yeah, don't necessarily mind this. It's at 10.5. I think that he's good for, 11, 12 points. Last game, 14 points. So far this season, he's only played in 2 games. He had 7 points in one of those games and then 14 in the other. Obviously, if we say games without Anthony Davis, that's the same thing. He's averaging, what would that be? 10.5 literally on the dot. So poof, I like that. PJ Washington is the other interesting name. Now, PJ Washington really, really had a good game in that last one, right? We had 29 points, by far and away his high of the season. His line now at 17.5 does worry me because it's a freaking high line. But at the same time, again, if he wants to score in the paint, okay, I think he can go out there and score in the paint. If he wants to hit some of these catch and shoot threes, I think he'll have success doing that as well. So I like the idea of PJ Washington today, both from a three-pointers made perspective and a in the paint perspective. I think that both of those spots, he should be pretty damn good to go. And I think he scores, 30-something% of his points in the restricted area, which is truly, truly where this Pelicans team is struggling. 73.3% to their opponents. So yeah, it's a high line, but high for a reason, right? So I like the idea of Dallas as well as those player props. The total, you can make the argument that this is a spot in which the Pelicans and Dallas both, like I said, pillow fight down low. But at the same time, neither one of these offenses is all that efficient. And much like one of the games we talked about earlier, I could see some more sloppiness than good basketball here. So 226.5, probably a little bit too high, but it's not too crazy. We have this pegged at, I think it's 119 to 113. So, 112 actually. So, yeah, it's above that number, but I do think that that's a little bit on the high end. Denver taking on Miami. Yet another large spread here. I mean, go ahead and comment big spread again. We did this a couple days ago and we had a bunch of big spreads, but man, oh man, these are some big numbers. 9.5 points in this one. That total at 242.5. Let's start with the total because I think that's what I like. I would say the most here in this spot. I don't mind the idea of an under. In fact, I think this line is very, very high. You do have two teams that are, rather efficient offensively, but they're also both decent defenses here. Both of the squads, stop the points in the paint fairly well as well. I will say Denver, if they get their three ball going, which it's been tough for them this year, they could have some success against the perimeter defense here of Miami. But again, like I said, that's been something that's really hard for them to do. In fact, just from a frequency perspective, 25 in terms of where they rank in the league from an above the break three, and then 27th from a corner three. From the corner, they're like 30% in terms of field goal percentage 4, and then 35 from above the break. So I don't think that they're going to go out there and just absolutely knock down a bunch of shots, but that would probably be how you get to this Miami team. But I do like the idea of an under. I think the Miami plays good defense down low where Denver likes to score and the mid-range as well. And then you flip it over to the Denver defense. Miami going to want to prioritize scoring in the paint. It's a top 10 team in terms of points in the paint allowed in Denver. So I like the idea of that. Overall, I mean, yes, you still do have two squads that have plenty of guys that can score, right? Bam Adebayo, Norman Powell, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Jokic. Like, I know there's a lot of decent names in this game, and that's why that total is up there, but I think both of these teams kind of thrive defensively today, not necessarily offensively. And even if this gets to a spot in which, it's like, say we use this spread in this line, you could easily see, a 125 to 116 type of a game, right? And Denver winning. That's still, what's 125 and 116? That's still under that number, right? So we're even, 241 exactly. So I think that's still a decent enough look, and wouldn't that be a pretty big game from both of these squads, right? 125 to 116. So yeah, give me the under. In terms of a side, I like Miami. I mean, I'm not going to sound the psycho alert alarm because I don't think it's all that crazy to like them getting 9.5 points. I've seen 10s out there. I've also seen some 9s out there, so make sure you're doing your shopping here. But this Miami offense has really, really been impressive to me. They're 4-3 this season. They're 5-2 against the number. I will say 2-3 on the road. That's a little worrisome against a Denver team that is 3-0. So sure, that might be something of consideration. But if this game is lower scoring than what that total says right there, and we're seeing some defense, I don't mind having double digits in my back pocket there. So I like the idea of Miami as well as the under here in this spot. From a player prop perspective, Jamal Murray is probably the name that I look at here, either, from a points or even a threes perspective or something like that. I had mentioned Miami being, somewhat troublesome around the perimeter, right? Well, who's going to take those above the break threes? Jamal Murray, right? Even Jokic, honestly, from a threes perspective, but Murray should be the guy shooting when it comes to that. In terms of his points line right now, I think it's gettable at 20.5. You can also look at 19.5 if that is really something that you want. He's hit that in, I believe it's 4 of the 6 games. Actually, they played 7, right? So no, there's 6. So 4 of the 6 games so far this season. I'm glad my math was correct there. And against Miami, I just like the spot from him. I mean, just a year ago against Miami, he had 28 points and 30 points. So aren't those two kind of things you like to see, right? Now, one of those games I believe was out Aaron Gordon, but the other one, pretty fairly healthy Nuggets team. So Jamal Murray, definitely a good look today, but it is kind of tough to take one of the better players and their point total over when I also like the under in this game. You know what I mean? Those two things don't go hand in hand, but still, they can both happen and both exist. Real quick, guys, I wanted to jump in here and first off say thank you for making it this far into the video. We get comments every single day being like, oh, you blabber, you talk, you rant, and it's like, yeah, dude, I like talking about sports. Sometimes we're just going to go off on little tangents and whatnot. But I did want to come in here and say, especially if you're watching it this time, I really, really do appreciate it. Obviously, some of these videos, especially with an 11-game slate, are going to be long. Like, even if we look at it from 2, 3, 4 minutes spent per game, that's looking at, 22, 33, 44 type minute video without the ranting, without the cut-ins like this. So I did just want to say thank you so much. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Let me know if you made it to this point in the video, and this point in the rant, because again, like, I really do appreciate the ones that get it and like the longer videos. I know we're going to have the TikTok brains all the time being like, oh, why isn't this just 60 seconds? Answer is because I love what I do and I like talking about sports, even if we do, teeter on the line of not being too concise each and every day. Let's get back to the video. All right, Sacramento taking on Golden State. Now, we'd already kind of talked about it when we talked about Chalkboard, which, again, link to Chalkboard down in the description as well as the pinned comment. But I don't think we're going to see Steph Curry tonight, right? This is a back-to-back for this Golden State team. He played yesterday. Now, Jimmy Butler's also questionable in this spot. Sacramento is a weird team. They're 3-3-1 against the number. They're just 2-5 straight up. I don't know how much I like Golden State without Steph, though. You know what I mean? So I'm going to slightly lean towards Sacramento. It's definitely not something that I love. I do have a play that I really do like in this game. It's a player prop. We'll get to that right at the end. But I'm going to lean Sacramento. I think that they have the explosiveness and the ability to run if they choose to. Now, are they a fast-paced team? No, but, you know, with Russell Westbrook, Zach LaVine, like, these guys can get the ball and go. So if they do choose to do that, I think that they could have some success against this Golden State team, especially on a back-to-back. Maybe no Jimmy Butler and no Steph Curry. From a total perspective, I will say Sacramento most likely going to want to play, you know, slowly in half-court basketball, and I hope that's the case because my player prop kind of revolves around, by far and away, their most half-court player. So I'm going to lean slightly towards the under, but again, the reason I do like Sacramento in this game, no Steph Curry, potentially no Jimmy, they're on a back-to-back, and then Sacramento can run. I'm not saying they will run, right? Hence why I lean towards the under. The spot that I'm liking is going to be Domas Sabonis. Domantas Sabonis here, I think, is in a really, really good situation against this King squad. I like his PRA. So points, rebounds, and assists over 33.5. I think see 34.5 out there on most books, but right now Fanatics has a 33.5 for -125. That's probably what I would ultimately look at here. I think that they have he has a good game, and somewhere on the line of, you know, maybe 18 points, he could have 12 boards and, you know, 5 assists, right? And that's 35 right there. And that's honestly not even the craziest of numbers coming out of him. The last 3 times he's played this Golden State squad, 42 has been his average from a PRA perspective. He's gone 22, 25, and 14 points, 13, 18, and 14 rebounds on 20, I think it was 20, 18, and 16 rebound chances. Or actually, it might have been 18 and 20 and 16 rebound chances. And he's gone 7, 3 assists, and 9 assists on 7. He had 7 assists on 7 potentials, 14, and then I forget the third one. It was like 5. It was the lower assist game. So he does do really, really well against this squad. And again, if you can snag that 33.5, I like it. 34.5, I don't mind whatsoever. Even the theoretical numbers I just threw out, he still covers that 34.5. I think it's a good Sabonis night. And again, I think it will help if we, you know, see him playing a little bit slower than, or see them playing a little bit slower than you normally would see. Rudy Gobert just had, I think, 17 against them as well in terms of points. So yeah, if he can be a big threat down there, I don't really see any way that they truly stop him. Draymond Green and Quentin Post, Draymond Green and Quentin Post are listed. Quentin Post, obviously a big guy, but Sabonis should be able to outcraft him like you read about. So Sabonis potentially getting to the line here as well today. Lakers taking on the Spurs. Luka versus Wemby. This should be a pretty good one. Austin Reeves is listed as questionable in this spot. On the other side of things, De'Aaron Fox, there's a chance that he might go out there and get a chance to go, but looks like he's going to be out, potentially playing in their next game, though. I think they play the Rockets in a couple days. This is a spot in which I do like the idea of the Spurs. I mean, if the Spurs can dominate the paint, I think they dominate this game, and they're underdogs here, getting them for what, +1. What are their lines as of right now? The Spurs on the money line are +127. Yeah, I think that might be worth a consideration here. I mean, you have San Antonio coming off of their first loss of the season. It was against the Suns. I expect them to snap back and play well. You have the Lakers, who played Portland, Memphis, you know, a banged-up Minnesota team. Portland, again, they did actually lose that one, right? Miami was in there. They haven't really played, like, the hardest of teams. It hasn't been the worst of teams. I guess we should admit that. But I think that this is a spot in which the Spurs are just the better team right now. Now, am I going to say Wemby's freaking better than obviously Luka or anything? No, like, Luka's still got the takeover ability, but this Spurs squad, I do think, you know, is good enough to, one, prevent the Lakers from scoring in the paint, which they're trying to, the 4th highest frequency from a field goal perspective in the paint. And then secondarily, like, on the perimeter, like, yeah, they're ranked 11th on the road this year, 16th from a points for 3 perspective. I think we could see them do all right, which obviously that's going to be really important with Luka out there. So as an underdog, I like the Spurs. That total at 228, It's kind of a spot on number, I would say. I think that this is a game that could go over just because of the star power in it with Wemby and Luka. I'm going to lean over, but it is a pretty damn thin margin for you. Now, from a player prop perspective, I think Harrison Barnes could have a decent game today. You're getting plus money for over 10.5 points. If you want him for 9.5, I don't mind that either. And I think he hits a couple of threes. Lakers pretty strugglesome against the corner three, and Harrison Barnes leads this team this season in three-point attempts from the corner. So I like him from a points perspective as well as a three-point perspective. 4, 2, and 3 in his last couple games here against this Lakers team. He's only hit this once in his last 4 games, but again, like, we have to put into perspective, Harrison Barnes isn't necessarily a true three-point shooter, but his last few games, 5, 6, and 6 attempts. He can shoot 33% from 3 for sure, right? Which a year ago he shot 43%. So if we have that quantity, we're looking at some threes from him. And again, I think that contributes to him also, getting 11 points here for plus 100 right now over on FD. All right, our last game of today's slate, we have Portland taking on the Thunder. Portland 5.5-point dogs at home. Total sitting at 229.5. Thunder last night, they win 127-106. They move on to 8-0 so far this season. Portland 2-2 at home. They are 4-3 though, kind of impressively. They're coming off a loss to the Lakers. I don't really care that the Thunder are on a back-to-back, unless there's some injuries that are going to pop up out of nowhere in a sense. Lou Dort's on the injury report right now. As we know, J-Dub is out still. I still like the idea of the Thunder. Now, I like the idea of Isaiah Hartenstein having a decent enough game. For what it's worth, in his last couple, I want to say actually, back-to-back games. So we have to date back to obviously last year. But if we look at his back-to-back games, he's been pretty damn sound, right? He's averaging 22.1 points plus rebounds. This is a Blazers team that's allowing plenty of points to the center position. In fact, from a league rating, I think it's the 5th most. So I think that he has a good game. So I like him points plus rebounds over 18.5, as well as a potential sprinkle on the double-double, actually. Him going out there and being able to get 10 and 10 for plus 190 on FD right now seems like it could be something that I get down with. So definitely don't mind that spot overall for Isaiah Hartenstein. But again, I think the Thunder take care of business. They are a young enough team that back-to-backs I don't think are going to matter all that much. I just wonder if I'm still downplaying the Portland Trailblazers. Are they better than I think, right? But I also don't mind the idea of, I guess, for to have to take a total here, I would say the under. The Thunder, obviously a fast-paced team, but they know Portland. Like the way that the way Portland's probably going into this thinking, okay, to get on their level, we should probably play, fast, because we're a fast-paced team. They're on a back-to-back. They might have tired legs. You don't think the Thunder, the reigning champions, are savvy enough to recognize that? And though the Thunder play at a fast pace themselves, they do have the ability to run the pick and roll and run the isolation and that type of thing. So I don't mind them slowing things down and us taking a peek at an under 229.5. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button again. Really do appreciate all of the support here. And yeah, some of these videos are going to be longer, but you know what? We put a lot of time and effort into these videos, and I really do appreciate the people that stick around and watch it. And the fact that it's part of some people's daily routine, I don't take any of that for granted. Catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.